Hello, my name is Micaiah. Welcome to the Hamlet development log number 2. Today we're going to be talking about where we're at. We're on February the 3rd. We started this. It was about a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. And we went live with our beta, the beta branch on the 18th, or 17th. Anyways, and then we are on log 2 of the 17th. So we are on February the 17th. We kicked off this. I think this should say the 17th. We went live with the on the Sunday. We're working. It was a little bit delayed. We're working on this through the. Let me print up a calendar. I guess I don't know if I should talk about this, but we were working on it from the 10th to the 13th-ish, and then we took some time off. We had a big snowstorm in Seattle and had some stuff going on, and we were working on other stuff. Anyway, so then now we thought we'd talk about the fact that we're kind of recording this on the 17th to sort of, which is great. That's why we design log. We haven't actually released this, I guess, yet. That we were talking about that we're looking at putting out a kind of in design, the next design log. We'll be talking about a little bit of Hamlet stuff and some because it sort of fit in well with it. And it was the idea. The problem, partly the problem was it would have been out way on the 25th or something like that. So, anyway, so we're a little bit. So we talked about a little bit of the status report. We had hoped that we'd have a live branch at point 8, and we envisioned this point 9 beta branch, and then the point 10 alpha branch. Yeah. Unfortunately, that didn't hit reality. We're still on the point 8 beta live branch. We were going to push up the point 9 branch to the live branch, but then we saw some significant bugs, just stuff that we caught, and we were working on fixing for the point 10 branch, and it was just like it just was so kind of, and that's sort of part of the theme there, and that partly maybe include, and well, I guess we could talk about a little bit in the future, but we might turn off the campaign or something. Anyway, so we are now live on the we're live on the point 10 beta branch. We'll see that here in a bit. So here we're going to talk about Dialog. This is kind of what we did over the last couple of weeks. We worked on this. So we actually came up with another version, another type of dialogue system that we were working on, which is sort of an upgrade to this whole system. Anyways, and then we're going to talk about version showcase and maybe some of that coming soon that we spoiled early. So Dialog Systems. What? Dialog? Yeah, so Dialog is sort of, we have to come up with different names. These are different. I guess we should have came up with definitions of these, but the dialogue is actually like, I think partly like what the screens that come up and stuff like that, and the dialogue is what the actual character says and stuff like that. So anyways, we came up with this simple version, a directed version, and then we were talking a couple weeks ago about an interactive version we wanted to implement, and then now we have point 3 already. These have nothing to do with any versions. We just it's a good indication of dev time. That maybe a slight problem with our dev time is that we sort of think about these features. This dialogue system has been in development for a long time, and we sort of keep iteration and improving, and maybe that's why we're sort of delaying longer than we should. But we think it gives us a better, much more robust, and gives us pieces that we can see. And then anyway, so the simplified version, it just had a current message, so we could display that through the above a status of text above the character. We run into the character, talk to the character, however we interact with the character, and it pops up and says "Welcome, stranger." We started that a very long time ago. We knew we needed some sort of dialogue. We may come back to that. We just disabled that a lot in the new versions because they were just not. They were not, and when you're looking in the adventure mode, the dialogue doesn't become as helpful. In the RTS mode, we're unsure whether or not you are going to be looking at the dialogue. So, and we have a new awesome dialogue version. So anyway, so the first one was just, hey, welcome stranger. It just, every time you talk to the person, didn't matter who you were, what you're doing. This is sort of could have become a much larger version of people, and that's sort of like the RPGs of the olden days, which I love talking a lot about because I'm old, I guess. But you'd walk up to someone, some guard, save the princess or something, even though you've saved her, you come back through like at the end of the game and you talk to that same guard and he's like, save the princess, and you're like, I did, buddy. Anyway, so that's kind of the old versions. And then we have this idea of this directed version, which is just a chain of dialogue. You can sort of subchain these, but it says hello, and then you talk to him again. It says, have we met? And then I like to make fun of myself that I remember I have a curse, as I like to call it, that I have a. Well, it's not just me. Humans have a ability to remember everything they say. It's just most people don't have the recall. So, and maybe you won't remember every single detail, but if if someone's a great example of someone's name. I'm not sure why we're on this tangent, but anyways, if you ask someone's name, my name is Micaiah. You come back to me 6 months, 9 years, 50 years down the line. If you say, hey, my name's Bob, you're like, no, that doesn't sound right. And I say, oh yeah, my name's Micaiah. You're like, oh, yep, that's, you remember that name. And anyway, so sometimes it's just like to make fun of that. Anyways, we'll see this, and this is just like a cycle of events that just happens, that every so often he'll say, hey, have we met? You think I'd remember, and then I have a great memory, and then it cycles back through. I think we might have updated that to say hello, your name, but it's just, and then you can sort of chain off of that for various events, but, it's sort of these simple text dialogues. And then anyway, so we talked about this, quite a couple of weeks ago. We demoed, sorry, I'm cracking my fingers. I don't know if you probably hear that on the channel. Anyways, we talked about this idea. Hey, it would be awesome. We could talk to the NPC. You could say, hey, like open a chest, get an axe. And then we were talking about this. Well, this idea came from the fact that we're talking to an NPC. We're like, wouldn't it be cool to say, hey, what, that's a sweet axe you got. And he's like, oh, hey, let me give you a chest and get the axe from him. Anyway, so part of the problem with that, this interactive thing is the NPC. And this is sort of a Venn diagram. The NPC knows about the character, which also knows about the chest, and the character has to know about the NPC and the chest. So it's like you get these convoluted systems that are just way too connected, which is you kind of have to do anyways. But this is a Venn diagram where you have this. This is your interactive of this Venn diagram. You can cite this is like the 7 degrees of separations and all that sort of thing. This is sort of that similar idea. It's like you don't want these scenes in game development. You don't want these scenes so intertwined that if the chest breaks and the character's like, oh my god, I have a chest, I have no idea where this chest is, but it's gone, I need to find it. And it's like that doesn't need to happen. Anyway, so then we talk about this idea that the character talks to the NPC and says, hey, where'd you get that sweet axe? And he's like, hey, it's open this chest and get it. And so the character doesn't necessarily know about the chest, but because of interacting with the NPC, that's how they find out about the chest. And then part of that is, well, how does the character interact with the chest in this example? If they talk to the NPC, then they get the knowledge of the chest or spawn the chest, but then how do they interact? So then we talk about this idea of the character does know about the NPC because he has to interact with the NPC, but he also has to interact with the chest. And then, and it's interesting too, because this diagram and this diagram in our game almost could be implemented into interactive things. And so it's really just like, the character is actually interacting with something, interacting with a tree, interacting with an NPC, a chest, or an object, or anything. And then we also have this. We're working on this idea that you're interacting through the character, who running into something, as we call it, just running into bam, is there something there, is there something there, is there something there, or whether or not you're right clicking on an action. And then we have improved upon that pretty vastly. I think from the beginning, when we first saw some people playing, one of the first YouTubers playing our game, it was like he was expecting a lot of interactions that just weren't there. Now we have all those interactions now, which are much better. Anyway, so now the Venn diagram is much better because in the center here, the character doesn't have to know about this chest. They don't have to interact with it except on this interactive agreement. And they don't, and the chest, the character and the NPC and the chest do not overlap in any meaningful way, which is where this Venn diagram before here was. There was such massive overlap here that it was like it became like that's sort of the starter problem. Is like you say, oh hey, here's a player character and here's an NPC, and give character the knowledge of the NPC and give character the just go into the character class and add the chest. It's like it just becomes like this convoluted character class that I started out like that. It's like you have a character class or a player object that has knowledge of all this stuff and everything. It's like it just becomes this massive. And then if like your chest break, like all of a sudden you don't spawn the chest, and then the character freaks out and says, I don't know what chest is, or you remove the chest, and switch it to an interactive dialogue or something, or an interactive class. Anyway, so this is much better, which is why we're on version 2 of this interactive system. Anyway, so we talked about this dialogue system, and we improved upon this. So we asked about the axe, and then we ask 1A, do we have an axe? And if we already have an axe, then we say, bummer, no new axe, instead of asking. So it's like it says, hey, in this dialogue, we're asking about the axe, but we're sort of saying, hey, you already have an axe. So it's like that's sort of like the futuristic idea that we want to have, is this ability to, when you walk up to the guard and ask about the princess, he should say, man, thanks for saving the princess. You're my hero. Anyways, and then we sort of override that now with thanks the NPC, and then get results of the get axe. And then in the future, we like this idea that the character has, and I think we're sort of almost there, but we like this idea because of these. I think this is kind of where we're at almost, where we have the character has no idea about NPCs and chess and anything. We might want to split the character into various. We have a new idea to split. We called it a strategic pattern. I don't remember the exact. It's this idea that this character is made up of parts of characters. Parts of the movement of the character, like our camera is that way. Our camera has no idea how to rotate until you add in the rotation components, and then anyway, so that I think we're sort of there yet, but we have a little bit of ways to go. Anyway, so we're going to show you the version 10 of the demo. We thought this would be just a really good idea. I noticed one thing too. If you right click and pop up and it says, hey, it can't do that, it's looking for the 0.9 or 0.8 version in this case. I think it's just because that's the under the library here. It's it's trying to play this version, and you have to just click the beta version of the yeah. So then we can see yeah. Anyways, there's a whole discussion page about the patch notes and stuff like that. So we've added a ton. I think we'll just talk about the. We'll just go through the adventure. One thing I've noticed about the adventure, it's really bright in my mind. Anyway, so now we've renamed all our characters. I guess we didn't talk about that as well. So we have all the characters are named. It shouldn't say out of energy to interact, but we have a lot more interactive. You can actually hit F2, I think it is. Yeah, so it'll tell you about the WSD. We want to bid this a little bit more accurate to what you're doing. But anyway, so it's WSD to move, Q and E to rotate the camera, and X to rest the character. Anyway, so this is our three characters. We have Curly Howard, who just says "Welcome, stranger," and then you can walk away or hit T to accept. And so that's that interactive 0. Curly Howard is just gonna always say, "Welcome, stranger." Anyways, Mo Howard here says "Hello, Joe son." So we've added the we talked a little bit about the effect. I think we added the thing. So we just say, hey, we talk to him again, and then we come up. He just comes back and says, gets the dialogue and says, he increases his dialogue by 1 and says, have we met? And then you say, you think I would remember? And then you can actually hit W again to say, I have a great memory, and then he just repeats. Maybe it's at the end of this. Let's see. At the end of this, it would be nice if he closed the dialogue and then, to signify it's over. But anyway, so then we got Mo Howard here. Anyways, so then we got the Larry Fine. Larry Fine says, hello again, Joe, son. And he's like, and then we have to say accept. Or what? Oh, did I screw it up? Oh, yeah, see, I think I screwed it up because I picked up an axe. So, yeah, so again, he just says, hello, Joe, son, which is it's our character name. So let's go back to the main menu. It's the only way I know to register it. Anyway, so we talked about this, the fact that the character, see, this is one problem I'm having with WorldGen right now to think about. Anyway, so that's one thing why that character was down lower like that, because he was in the thing. Anyway, so now we can come up to this person and say, hey, and we get these topics of goodbye, or we could ask him about his axe. If we ask him about his axe, he said, where did you get that sweet axe? Now, one of the things I have here is that we have to trigger another move to ask. It says, let me get you an axe. And then you have to say, trigger that, and then you can then pick up the axe. And then it says, you're welcome, Larry son. Which is, oh, that's my name. So that's cool. And now he goes back and says hello again. So he's pretty much finished his dialogue. And just, we've got the axe. And now we can use the axe to chop down the tree. So it's kind of this is kind of the exact dialogue we were looking for. Oh, and now we can chop Larry Fine. Anyway, so we've got to talk to Larry Fine, Mo Howard, and Curly Howard. And if you haven't figured it out by now, it's Larry, Mo, and Curly. It's the Three Stooges. Yay! Anyway, so I thought, hey, I have these three different dialogues. I should look at, I was talking about Mo, Larry, and Curly. Anyways, and then apparently Mo and Curly are one of these. I think there was a couple Mo's and a couple Curlys all on the end. Anyway, so these are some of the original Stooges here. Mo Howard and Curly Howard are brothers apparently, and Larry Fine is. I think Larry Fine was sort of kicked around for a while, but it's we just knew him as Larry, Mo, and Curly, but I didn't know there was actually different Mo's and different Curlys and stuff like that. Anyway, so you can see our collect. We're going to talk about the correct island demonstration here. We have, and then I think you could also walk up the axe and says, hey, we have a better axe. We have a better rusty axe. And then you can actually, and then we sort of talked about this idea. I guess it's my video. Anyway, so the campaign doesn't really have any value for us right now because it's sort of, we sort of added in. We thought that was cool, so we worked a little bit on the camera effect. So anyway, so now you can actually come up and right click on the axe. Well, you could always do it that way, and then you could also come up and sort of it sort of limits the character. Oops, and then we can also talk to this character as well. Oh, we have to get closer. I should probably add in. It says hello, Bob Wood. So now we're Bob Wood, and then you can actually talk to. And how we met, you think I would remember, and anyways. And so now we can actually right-click on, this is what we need to add for the NPC dialogues. Now you can right-click on those actions we were talking about for the tree. He doesn't quite get there, but he does perform that action. Are you out of energy? Why are you not performing the action, buddy? Come on. You should actually be performing the action. Whoops. And we obviously have to add a lot more bugs. Or I think you can see that you shouldn't say out of energy. Anyway, so obviously there's a little bit more work to do, but that's why I think adventure mode's really awesome because it sort of triggers the. Anyways, and then we also discovered no options soon, which kind of leads us. So anyways, that's the demo. We're on the Steam beta branch for the version 10. And then the start of the work week. This is officially my Saturday work week, even though it's officially Sunday. Anyway, so one of the things we want to talk about was, we're done with this. Here, let me go one more into here. Under the NPC, you can see that the version 0.0 had this welcome stranger. And then I think if you come down here, you see the same get message, how we met, and stuff like that. And then we talked about, now we're talking about this, asking about the axe, which is sort of, we give the unit name. We need the dialogue system, just needs this, this really complicated thing that just says, hey, what's the name of the person we're talking to? So we can sort of indicate that if we want. And we could say, where did you get that sweet axe, or whatever. We can actually randomize this, or do any number of things. That would be another indication of this. Is like you have 5 different options. You randomize. I can type. It's not what I do every day, but hey, and then you go R0 to 5. Oops, oh, you can't do that. Sorry. R0 to 5. Yeah. Pseudocode is not good. Anyways, see design video for that, and then we just feed that in there, and then we have these choices that say, hey, the axe, and then this feeds in a function. At that point, or the dialog, you can say goodbye, and it just says hide the dialog. Anyway, so it's just a quick demonstration of the idea of the version 10. Now that's the end of version 10. We are finished. So we're going to start our new week. So we're going to come out with, Sunday, even Saturday is my work week. So we're going to show the demo of the version 10. Anyways, we have this folder over here. It's part of the C drive. We have the Unity 566, which is kind of how we do in our sort of organization of our Unity projects. Anyways, we come down here and we say send to compress zip. Which sort of does this chain of events that just sort of triggers this. We started this a few weeks. I guess we can talk about the next thing is ramble on versions. So anyways, we had this idea that we had this idea of a projects that we were talking about. Now we have a couple new projects. We're talking about Project Canada and Project Inventory, or whatever we're calling the new Project Inventory, which is going to be and then we also have Project Dungeons, maybe, which will be implemented into this. We have a demo of that, but we're not quite there yet. Anyways, so it's like we had Project Hamlet or whatever that started out, and it was always just Hamlet. So you just go on and continue to update things, but then we started uploading to OneDrive is how we sort of handle or updates, and it was just like became like, well, every time we uploaded the project to Hamlet, even though we zipped it down, it would just be Hamlet, zipped, and we'd give it a date or something like that. It just became a problematic to say, hey, I'm on Hamlet version 11 now for this work week, and then I wanted to, go back and I deleted a file, like, I don't need this file, and it was like came up, it deleted one file, and I had 177 errors, and I'm like, apparently I needed that file. Well, I went back and looked through hundreds of projects, or dozens and dozens of test projects and little Unity things, and it was like, that was not backed up, and it was like, because it was an old file from 2018, which I didn't do a 2018 backup. I try to do them every quarter as well. But for this project, since it's such a valuable project to me right now, where it's like I'm concerned about having, losing, this is like, it's like this is, your project is pretty much your lifeline to the, I don't know if you can hear the cat in the background. She's all looking for something, scrounging, even though she has food. Anyways, you can see the fact that, it's like having multiple versions of the backups and then be able to go back every week to look at the version and sort of, the project file is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, especially we spent a couple months. That's what one of the things we spent a couple days pruning the project down to a more manageable size, and then it was just like, that's not quite what we wanted to do. Because we just dumped the inventory characters and a whole bunch of things into the future project here, and into the project. Anyway, so that's kind of, we've been talking to a lot of people about, what's the version alpha and all this, why these versions. It's not anything in particular, it's just how we sort of organize our work. Now that we're done with here, we come back to version 11, this is the core project file. So now we kick off Unity again. You can pause the video and see what other projects I've been working on, but now we can and that's the other thing too, you don't see the project 10 here. There's Project Canada at the top there, but now we can just open up project version 11 and then kick off this, the work week. And it's basically too about shipping the game to the beta 10. Here, let's actually go to the. Here, let me showcase the. Come on. Oh, there we go. The Hamlet. You can see the. Now we've got the 10 beta branch, and then you can also, on the discussions, you can see poor me talking to myself here on the discussions about the full patch notes. and then say, hey, whoops, whoops, forgot to mention, what did we forget to mention? Tons of things, I'm sure. Anyway, so, yeah, so here's the full patch notes for the version 10. And then McCabe is the developer. Awesome. That's me. Hey, that's me. And then anyway, so the other thing we like to do as well is that this internal file is sort of saying that this is the Haven Hamlet version 11, which sort of just lets us know that this is the significant change in this version. So we can see critters, map nodes, pathers. Pathers are those guys that were running around. They're kind of really early versions of that. Critters are part of the forest system we talked about. We're trying to get those back online, but we have some significant changes to do with them. It sort of took a old system or recent system, and anyway, so now that that's done, we go through the resources. I don't know if I should be showing all of this, but hey, it's go to data, and then here's the problem we had before where we named this at 0.8. Oh no, 0.8, and this is actually 0.11 now. And we kick off this, hit play, and then now we should be, what are we? Yeah, we're in the menu now. So this should say development build. So now we changed this significantly. So now we're in development build of version 11. Yeah. One of the other major changes too, since we're showing off a lot of things, is we got this starting Hamlet folder. So we just click play, and then this determines based on what I'm working on. There's that. This is the campaign mode. So now we can see the stuff are happening. We get discoveries, and this is how we can sort of come up and get discoveries. And anyways, and then I'll probably go through and say, why are you not? See, performing the actions here. Anyway, so now I can just try to track down that bug and figure it out. So that's the, I guess that fits right into what's coming soon. So yeah, so it's coming soon. It was called the Future Plans. It's in development. It's not promised. We sort of worked on this. We sort of had a lot of other. We're working on inventory and quests and NPCs and towns and all sorts of things in the background, just for fun projects. For project inventory, I think we're calling it now, and hopefully have some DevLogs, some design logs about that pretty soon. We're not trying to take significant time away from Hamlet, but we do work on this 7 days a week, so we need to take breaks off and work on different projects. And even working on a space project just gets me out of the mindset of working on just this pure RPG project and gives me a break. Anyway, so obviously we have a few of those bugs to figure out. I'm not sure if those bugs are the right clicking on the tree should activate the action, which somehow it's not. So, and then we we're talking about disabling the campaign because it's not some of the you saw in the campaign. One of the things we're seeing the full version of the map, and we want to see just the chunk. Well, a lot of that's sort of in development and being changed pretty significantly over the next few months. So we're not sure. We think that because of getting faster updates, we can't continue to support a campaign. And what we sort of started with the campaign because that was the primary goal, and we should sort of keep the focus simplified on the campaign, just to focus. That's the game we want to make, instead of adding in the roguelike and all these other things. But and then we'll have to, that's one thing we'll have to look about is the future. Version 2.0 of Hamlet and what that looks like, because we want to ship this game in the next year or two is our sort of goal. We talked about a year, but we might take 2 years. Just depends on how much time it takes, and then kind of what the community is like. So anyway, so it's nothing really sure. We're sort of talking about it, but if we disable the campaign, it sort of would help us speed up dev time to not try to make sure every single thing in the campaign is working when the campaign made sense because we had stages and various things, and now we're sort of we have to bring more rocks and more mushrooms and more different interactables online, but we might want to switch to more more buildings or more dungeons or more more content of the Hamlet. Why is the game called Hamlet and not you know which is actually a pretty good name for a roguelike as well, I think, which this is shaping up to be. So that's kind of like where this is going. This is going to be an RPG roguelike game with a lot of different aspects, and we're starting to see that as sort of the finding the fun in the game. Anyways, it's getting long enough. Thanks for checking out the Hamlet devlog number 2. And this is available on Steam. And we're talking about sort of talking about this. We have a Hamlet Studios Discord. We kind of post some things there, but we're sort of trying to work it out. Even if we're talking about, some people are now getting away from an announcement channel to announcements at here on Discord, and then just having an announcement channel. So if people want to check it out, they can see the changes and stuff. Anyway, so that's the end of devlog number 2. We're going to start working on devlog number 3. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I have a rough outline of it already. I don't remember what it's about even, so I'll have to look at what I was looking at, and that will be for on the 25th, I think. So these are coming out on Monday. So anyways, you take care. Thanks very much. Have a good one.